Welcome to Klingspor's Woodworking Shop 20th Annual Woodworking Extravaganza virtual. Today we are joined with, I'm Mike Z, that's Chris, but more importantly, it's this guy right here. This is Mr. Izzy Swan.
I don't know how more importantly that is, but thank you very much for the warm welcome, guys.
Is that the best way you can introduce him? I mean, even on Price is Right, they get better introductions than that.
You're welcome.
Right. Wait, there's a game show today?
Always.
We should make it into one.
And now, from Greenville, South Carolina, Izzy Swan.
I'm not getting up and waving my hands in the air, guys. Sorry.
Missed out on that.
So anyway, guys, thank you very much for having me down. They asked me what I wanted to talk about, and I thought it would be a fun opportunity to talk a little bit about social media, about building brands on social media, and talk about a few tips and tricks, and then also the importance and value of that for not just businesses, but also people in just themselves. Yeah, that made sense. But you guys get the gist of it.
So brands, people building their own brand of who they are and that kind of thing.
Yeah, even if you're not interested in building a brand or turning it into a full-time business, there's a lot of value in social media. And I think this is really a good point now, especially with the climate, to talk about this. There is a wonderful, great, amazing, good side to social media, and especially where now with so much going on, social media is getting a lot of bad rap, I guess. And it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, it's typically what people choose to put out there. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So for those of you who don't know me, I got started on YouTube about 7.5 years ago. I have roughly 750,000 followers over there now. I'm on Instagram and just recently on TikTok, both with followings in the 100,000 and a little bit above range. And I also have a website, and I do this full time. I make content for social media full time, and I do that by making brand deals. I have worked with Klingspor in the past. They are easily one of the best companies to work with, hands down. And I also use that platform to sell plans and products that I make and manufacture. So that's how I make a living doing what I do. And it's been a fun ride, a lot of ups and downs. Social media is definitely a strange climate. So the value, I think, especially now, you guys are kind of new to social media too, as far as, building your brand on social media. It's just a couple of years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you handle most of that.
I do.
So I would ask you, do you see over the past couple of years working with like guys like me and other people in that realm, has that brought added value to your business?
I think it has, because we're not looking for the big name as in the 10 million subscriber, but also we're not working with, but we work with the 100 subscriber.
Right.
So we go back and forth, but at the same time, it's like, when you have you on, the engineering mind, the content is unlike anyone else's, but yet you can utilize the sandpaper in a way that anyone in their shop could at home. Mm-hmm. Really starts to tie the two together is what I'm noticing.
Well, yeah, I think, even with some of the crazy stuff I do, the processes are still the same. It's just the end result is slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's just a robot at the end. Yeah.
Sometimes there's a chair. We just did a build video on using yard debris to build a rustic chair, and that was a lot of fun. So I mean, it's not always all crazy stuff.
Utilizing the hurricane.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, no, this was pre-hurricane. So.
Oh, is that the one with the you were using the handsaw
and then I switched to the chainsaw?
Yeah.
I said you could use a handsaw to cut this down. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember that very well now. Never mind.
Yeah, it's always a little bit of fun to have a little fun. So.
That's right.
So value, let's kind of start at the bottom, so to speak, and I use that word loosely. But if you're looking, like say, hey, I work out of my garage and I would like to make a little extra money, maybe to help support woodworking or this making habit, because it's not an inexpensive habit, and the more you get into it, the deeper the rabbit hole goes. So having that kind of pay for itself has some value, and social media can really help you do that. And you look at things like Facebook that has Facebook Marketplace, which is a great local source for selling product. I know several people around my area and around the country who have used that platform. In fact, they've used my Adirondack chair plans to create small businesses for themselves. Especially one of them got laid off during COVID, and he literally paid his bills building Adirondack chairs, selling them on Facebook Marketplace.
Wow.
so there's just right off the bat, we're already talking about, there's one benefit there. So it's having an Instagram account is also an amazing way to have a gallery. So whenever you're a woodworker or a project guy, even if you're not trying to get a ton of followers or use that to, work with brands, having an Instagram page is a great way to gallery your work, because when you hit on the profile, all your stuff is just lined up very neat for you. So you don't have to be an expert at photography or know how to size your photography work or any of that. And it just creates this amazing gallery for you. So there's really right there off the bat having an Instagram page. And this is where Facebook kind of lacks a little bit. It used to be very accessible to get to photos. Now they kind of got that hidden. And unless you know social media, it can be hard to find. In fact, just the other day, I had to go ask someone, where do I go find the photos at? And I do this for a living. It was a little embarrassing that I had to ask somebody. So.
Yeah, they have started hiding it a little bit more. Plus, you only first get to see someone else's photos they shared of you instead of your stuff first.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where Instagram has a lot more value over something like Facebook. And I find that if you're doing galleries or displaying work, Instagram is a great place to do that. And it's also a great place to promote an Etsy page. If you have an Etsy page or something like that and you want to sell your work, not just locally, but via the internet, if you're doing small products and they're easily shippable, that's another great way to promote your Etsy page, or you can link to that. So you have this gallery that people can go to, and then you can build both off of Etsy and Instagram as well. And it's, once you get accustomed to it, it's a lot less work than you might think, as far as like keeping stuff up and posted and all that jazz. So that has some value there. And it also gives you this opportunity as a business. If you're a small business and you want to promote your product as well, it gives you the gallery page. It gives you, linkable. It gives you a profile where you can link different things, and you can do a Linktree account. So you can also link not only your Etsy page, but you can link your Facebook. You can link a YouTube video. You can link your website. So those things all have value. And I think, for me especially, I think the inspiration side of social media is very, very important. So I would encourage anyone who makes anything to have some sort of social media, because people are weird. And it's interesting how growth and things happen on YouTube and Instagram and these other places. But for me personally, I do a lot of things now because I learned them from YouTube or Instagram, or I got inspired by something I saw on Instagram or one of these social media pages. And then I started researching it. And then I went down that rabbit hole. And now I have this ability that I know not otherwise would have had. A lot of my education doesn't come from the traditional school of hard knocks or college. It comes from the things I've seen on social media. And the reason it works that way is because I don't connect with everybody who posts stuff online. I just don't. Some people, it seems slightly silly to me at sometimes. But the thing is, I do connect with some people. And you're going to have that same thing happen to you. Some people are going to connect with you and some aren't. But those people that connect with you, if you put something out there in the world that says, hey, that was really cool. I mean, they made this crazy cool cutting board that has all these patterns in it. How did they do that? And they start researching it and start going down that rabbit hole. Then you just had a very positive effect, a very positive change in a human being that you could have done. And it may be that they come to my page and they don't connect with me at all, and they come to yours and they connect. So there's value in just that alone, just being able to inspire folks, because you might be that person that they connect with, that you might put that project out there that really speaks to them and sends them down that rabbit hole and adds a whole new dynamic to their lives. Really. I mean, it's that powerful. And it happens time and time and time and time again. I've seen it on my pages. I've seen it on other people's pages, where someone did a project, someone got really interested, reached out. And a lot of times you'll find on social media that we're very accessible. We try to get to the comments and to inspire and to drive people to check things out. So, and if you reach out to them, a lot of times you're going to get a response. That's the other great thing about social media. There's very little divider, there's very little hurdles to jump. You can use the comment section there. You can usually find a website or an email address. I will caution you, if you send me an email address, I may not get to it. I get a lot of emails. better off in the comments section. So those are things that I think are valuable. And to me, more than, growing big on social media or making a living on it, which sounds nice when you start thinking about it, but it is another job. So it is not, it is, granted, it is a great job. I get to go out behind my house in my shop and play with a lot of great equipment that a lot of it I paid for. Some of it was sent to me by brands. And the misnomer I think with that is that people think that because somebody sent you a tool, you got that for free. That is not the way it works at all. In fact, I was on YouTube for the better part of 2.5 years before I think I got my first free tool. I had spent almost $100,000 on shop and content, thousands and thousands and thousands of hours before I got my first free tool. So that tool was not free. I have earned it and I have paid for it 10 times over. And you will too. There's just no way around it. You have to put the work in to reap the benefits of it. And if that's what you want to do, there's ways to do it. Even now in this climate with a very, very heavily ridden market with DIYers, just basically everywhere you turn, there's a DIYer. And I will tell you that brands are more and more moving towards the micro influencer, the influencers with less than 100,000 followers. So there's more potential there to work with brands than there ever has been before. Like when we were first started, if you didn't have 150,000 followers on YouTube, they weren't even interested in talking to you. So now brands are looking at that as a lot more as a more viable option. First of all, engagement rates are typically a little bit higher with smaller brands or smaller social media folks. The ROI is always better for the brand. And when you're working with a brand, it's a relationship. I think that's a lot of places where we see people go wrong here. They're just out to get what they can get. And that's not how it works. I mean, every time you work with a brand, you've developed a new relationship, and it has to be valuable for both you and the brand. Otherwise the brand never comes back. I mean, that's why I'm sitting here with these guys, is because I want to make sure that anything I do for them is a high value proposition. And they also know that I'm not going to do anything that isn't a good product. I won't promote something that I don't believe is a good product. And that doesn't necessarily mean that something they might feel is a good product, I may feel differently, and I won't promote it. But they understood that coming in. We had a very, open and, relationship, and we talked about that. And to be honest, I think there's only one tool I was just not willing to work with on, and we're not going to talk about it here, but
I don't remember off the top of my head, but there was one where you're just like, I just don't see a benefit to it. And
it wasn't a bad tool. I think I didn't feel like there was a benefit for it.
It was one of those where I remember that's something that I like, that I use, and you just didn't see the same. You were like, wait, yeah, but I could just use this instead. And it was like, yeah, that works. So, I mean, that's what it's all about whenever you're working with a brand, is just having that openness, having the agree to disagree, but also coming to a solution that you may not agree with me, I may not agree with you,
right?
But we both understand that, and we're good to go.
Yeah, and I think that's important when working with it. When you get to that point where you're working with brands, is to know that you're in a relationship. It's not just a take relationship; it's a give and take relationship. And if you continue, and I've seen it happen in social media where people just take, and then they disappear. Our brands just don't come to them anymore. And the woodworking and making world is actually pretty dang small. And if you want to be the guy who's only working with endemic brands and not doing video games and VPNs and all that other stuff, then you need to be developing really good relationships with the people that you are working with. And sometimes that means saying no. And that's one of those things that's a little bit, you really have to think this through. Where's the value? Is there value for you? Not only is there value for you, but is there value for the brand? And if you don't feel like there's value for the brand, then walk away. Just my 2 cents. We kind of got a little sidetracked there. But
no, that's good stuff for people to know. Because a lot of times whenever I'm doing anything social media wise, I don't do the contract. I don't do anything like that. It's kind of more of a handshake. And the reason being is that a lot of the micro influencers, I don't want them to feel burdened with the fact that I need 20 posts a day. I need 100 hours of content. Like, I've seen some of these contracts, and it's like, what are you talking about?
In fact, I just walked away from a big brand last week. I didn't walk away. We were starting negotiations. They sent me their contract and I said no. It was just a lot of stipulations, too many talking points. It was a commercial. and I don't want to sound like a commercial.
Right. And that's the thing.
You know,
You
and
don't want to take away from somebody. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're right.
Take away from someone's content to have them always be pushing this particular thing. I don't think that's right.
And social media this world is still fairly new to brands. They don't know they're not quite sure what to make of us yet in a lot of ways, especially with marketing agencies, marketing companies. And I think that the fail there is that what they don't understand is that we've, as social media people and everybody out there that does social media for a living is going to be like going, yes, that. We've built audiences doing what we do for a reason. And when you start coming in and stipulating all the stuff that we have to do to work with the brand, you're taking away from the value that we can actually give to the marketing agency or to that brand that we're marketing, because we know our audiences. We know what our audiences need to see. We know what they need to hear. We know how to get them to click on that link and how to drive traffic to where people want to go, where they want people to go. So, and I think that's something that marketing agencies will learn over time, is that they need to give a little bit more freedom to the people who already built the audiences rather than stipulate how they interact with the audience. And I think you'll see more of that coming. Whenever I work with the brand, it's one of my pitches is like, look, you need to give me some freedom here, and it's going to end up being much better for you. I did that with Tractor Supply Company a few years back, and we did a sawmill video for them, and that video got 4 million views, and it drove, I can't even tell you how much traffic it drove them. It was insane, but they gave me some freedoms. Those are the things. Those are how we add high value content for brands. And if you're working with brands as a person or as a social media, I hate the word influencer, but as a social media representative of the product, then you need to be honest with yourself and with the marketing companies. So anyway, totally off subject. Well, not really, but slightly off subject. I want to really encourage people to get out there and use social media to their benefit and to the benefit of others. And to, because like I said before, you might be that person. Maybe you don't have, 100,000 followers or 50,000 followers, but it doesn't matter. Someone may come across your stuff, and that might be the thing that inspires that person to go down that rabbit hole and change the dynamic of their life. And that, even if you don't ever see it like in full scope, that has intrinsic value that is undefinable. It is undescribable. And it is lasting, because that person may do something and inspire somebody else and inspire somebody else and inspire somebody else. Those things are what affect positive change in our world, in the people around us, in our communities, in our bubbles, our bubbles of existence, so to speak. So those are things that I'd like to see. I'd like people to get onto social media and not, scream at the top of their lungs about which president they think is better, or, scream at the top of their lungs which idea they think is better. Do it around something that has positive. If you have positivity, if you use things like social media for positive things, it becomes something that is much more powerful. Because I can tell you from experience, if I see a political post, I scroll right by it. I don't even read it. And I know most of my friends do the same. They're just going to ignore it. They don't care. They don't want to hear what you have to say about that, because it's so overdone. So don't do it. Put something positive out in the world instead. Put out a project you built, put out something that's going on in your shop, or something that you want to make, and get feedback. And when you ask for feedback, let me tell you what, you're going to get the kind of responses that you've never seen before, because people love to offer advice and tips and tricks and help. They want to do that. We all want to do that. So that's how you get interaction. That's how you make positive changes. So if you guys have any questions, by the way, we are seeing the comment section from YouTube up here, and you can type that in. And we have Eagle Eyes over here watching the comment section for us. So we'll be sure to answer any questions that you have. So feel free to ask me anything. I will be happy to answer that, and we can do that as we're going along here.
So while we're waiting for questions, one thing I can say is that asking for help is probably one of the best genuine uses of social media, because no matter how many years you've done something, it's been your way of doing it. So when you go ahead and ask the audience, hey, ran into this situation, how would you handle it? You never know. Someone may have already done something with that, or ran into that at one time. And then therefore they're like, oh, well, this is what I did to solve that particular issue.
Mhm.
And I think that helps a lot with people who, you know, no matter where they're at in their journey, whether they're starting out or have been doing it for 45 years, just asking the question, you can get some very interesting responses that will
Mhm.
kind of trip the brain, as in like, I didn't think of doing that, and maybe I should try that out because I forgot all about that or whatever.
Mhm. So you just made a really good point there. And I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I'm not necessarily, I don't necessarily go after money. That's not my focus. My focus is I go after people. I collect people. So I have a network of people, from rocket engineers to water treatment people to electricians to finish experts to guys that are learning CNC stuff inside out, backwards, and forwards. I have a network that is probably, if you had to put a value on it, worth millions, because I could pick up my phone at any time and ask any question I need to have answered, and I can get it answered by somebody who really knows their stuff. And that is incredibly powerful. And you can have the same thing. You know, you get involved in these communities, like you get involved in the We Like to Make Stuff group on Facebook. You get involved in, the maker groups. You get involved in these. You all of a sudden have access to information that you would have to pay big money for free.
Mm-hmm.
It's for free. That has value that is, you can't put a number value on it, because it's just anything that you need to know, you can ask, and you will get an answer for it from somebody who knows what they're talking about. Now, the flip side of that is you may get more answers than you need. And it could be, if you're not familiar already with it, some of it might get a little confusing. But there are groups like Maker's Playground, like We Like to Make Stuff, who will answer you legit. You'll get a few answers and you'll get the right ones.
Mhm.
So if you are putting it out there in other places, just know that you may get, 250 people answering you, and 3 of them might be the same. But it's not too hard to sift through it if you have a slight understanding of what you're doing.
So Miss Jess Crow, which Crow Creek Design.
Yeah.
You hit 100K on TikTok in 2 weeks, are prolific on all social medias. What would be your best advice for folks building their tribes?
All right. I have an innate ability that I use, in the fact that I can design things that, like, moving things, mechanical things, things that are visually striking. So when you are posting on social media and you want people to pay attention, focus on the visual representation of what you're doing. You can take a picture of an apple sitting under a tree, and it's like, okay, that's an apple sitting under a tree. But if you take a picture of an apple in a robot's hand, and the hand is moving, all of a sudden there becomes visual interest. If you're, in Jess's case, doing epoxy tables, there's apps out there that make, if you take a picture and you just want to post a picture, well, there's apps out there that you can take that will make the epoxy look like it's flowing down the pour, or you have 2 slabs, it makes look like a river of epoxy. Anything that has visual interest. Take something that's ordinary and mundane and put it in the right setting. You can give it visual interest. You can do the same thing with video. Movement is interest. If you have videos, make sure there's lots of movement in it. If you're not afraid of the camera, get in front of the camera and be part of that video, because people are inherently attracted to other people. It doesn't matter whether you're gorgeous or, chubby or thin or, look like me. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but movement has intrinsic value, because people are attracted to movement. We're predators. It's it goes down to the human condition thing. If you can in any way add movement to what you're doing and visual interest through making something look slightly different, different angles. If you're doing cabinetry work, don't show the top down angle, show the face on at an angle. Those are all kinds of things that get people to click on what you're doing. And so visual interest is probably number one. If you're in front of the camera, make sure people know that you're enjoying it. Even if you're having a bad day, put a smile on your face. And this is where people say it's fake. And I will say this, it's not, because just because we're having a bad day, it doesn't mean that we're going to get on camera and start talking about how bad our day is. And for those of you who do that, I will caution you, that gets old. You know, people will maybe once or twice go, "Oh, I'm really sorry you're having a rough time," or whatever. But if it's a constant thing on social media, it gets old and it will drive people away. And there's no problem, like, you know, getting out in the audience to say, "Hey, I'm in a wheelchair. I screwed up. I hurt my back. I'm in a wheelchair." You can do that. But if you're posting day in and day out about the struggles of being in that chair, it gets old. Don't do that.
Well, you're getting a different audience at that point, because if you built your social media audience and your tribe around what you do, and then things have changed, then those people who are rallying behind you may start losing interest due to the fact that you're no longer doing what you originally set out for.
Yeah. Well, and there's that, and people also get tired of, you know, we all know we all have somebody or know somebody who is just all the time drama. Now, I have a friend that's struggling a lot right now, and she puts a little bit of it out there, but she doesn't put it constantly out there, you know. But it's more of as a, hey, this is what's going on right now. This is why I'm not posting. You know, this is why I haven't been as frequent, and that's fine. But just, you know, don't make it your everyday routine, because that's just boring. And I have seen some stuff like that over the years, and typically people like that don't stay. They, you know, or people who are posting stuff like that. It gets a big hit at first because people are concerned. We're in a community of people who are probably some of the kindest hearted people I've ever met out there. I would say woodworkers and makers are legitimately the best kind of people, because they want to lift others up. Mm-hmm. And the other thing about social media too is I see this happen once in a while, or someone was like, I posted 5 pictures over the course of 4 months and I didn't get any interaction. I'm like, well, yeah, I'll post a picture every day, a short video. Well, how do I make that kind of content? It doesn't have to be all content. Hey, this is my favorite screwdriver. This is why. People love to know that. This is my favorite sandpaper, Klingspor. Here's why. This is my favorite whatever. You know, there's content around us all the time. You know, so don't feel like you have to build something epic every single post. I certainly don't. I mean, I only do epic builds maybe once or twice a year, and I've been doing it for 7 years. So now I have like a whole gallery of really crazy builds. So don't feel like that's something necessary. Just consistency. If you jump in one of these communities like we've been talking about, and you don't feel like you're involved, that's because you're not interacting. Mm-hmm. You know, get in there, put posts up, interact with other people that are posting stuff. And that's another thing that on social media is, if you're just putting your stuff up and you're not spending the time interacting with others, you know,
it's like a second job.
It is, you know, like other people's posts, comment on other people's posts, give encouragement, say wow when you see something that makes your eyeballs open a little bit bigger. You know, don't just put something out there and then expect a return. That's not the way it works. Put the work in, it will happen. So, and if you're doing something that doesn't seem to be working, change it. I've seen it. So I put 15 videos up on YouTube and I'm not getting any. Well, what can you do different about the video content that you're putting out? You know, don't blame it on YouTube. Don't blame it on Instagram. Don't blame it on TikTok. What can you do different that makes it more consumable? What's that visual interest that's going to get people on there? And trust me when I say this stuff that I have is hard earned. My first video, it is still up. Now, I am embarrassed as hell about it, and I wish like heck I could take it down, but it's the very first video I ever put out in the world. March 19th, 2013. I put a 5-minute video up from my cell phone of one angle, like right underneath my arm, at a jig that I built for sharpening table saw blades on a table saw. I spoke in monotone voice for the entire 5 minutes about the jig, didn't show it being built, didn't show any of the finer nuances. That's all I did. It might be the worst video that was ever loaded on YouTube. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is.
No, there's been worse, because we were talking about that one time, and so I decided to go back to all these channels that I subscribe to, mm-hmm. and go find the very first video that they put out that they had on the channel. Now maybe they deleted the very first one, mm-hmm. but there's a lot of really fun ones out there where you can actually see how far they've come in the video content, what they've added to the arsenal. So no, yours is not the worst.
I don't
at
know.
all.
It might be. But that being said, back then, what I did was I looked at other people making content who were having success. I looked at Steve Ramsey. I looked at Laney Shaughnessy, Mark Spagnolo, Matt the Basement Workshop. You know, these guys that were those are the by the way, those are the four guys that started all this on YouTube about 15 years ago. Those are the four. I call them the four fathers because they were the ones on YouTube that were making the DIY thing a thing.
But there's only one Godfather,
Jimmy DeResta. So, but and Jimmy was on there when I was doing it too. Who else was up there that are Bob Claggett, making it TV, David Picciuto, and me and Jay Bates all kind of got our start right around the same time. I think Bob and David might have come in a little bit after me and Jay.
Okay.
But anyway, neither here nor there.
You've been around.
The idea was I went to these channels. I looked at what they were doing. I looked at things that I thought were visually interesting and that were interesting as far as the dialogue, how it was being presented, kind of broke it up into things like, okay, I could do that. I can't do this. I could do this. I can do this. I have those capabilities. I have that. So I integrated some of that stuff into what I was doing. And you will, if you look over the 7 years of my channel, and I'm not saying go and do that. Those over 400 videos. You won't get out of there till you're 70. But what happens is there's constantly improvements, and it's actually, it'll be 8 years. 8 years this March will be how long I've been on social media. So, so look at those things that you can improve, put the work in, and it is work. I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, but that's if you really want to try and, get a lot of growth and always be willing to change what you're doing. If you have stuff that's not working, change it, test it, put it out in the world, ask other people, send your videos to people and take the criticism, swallow it and digest it and think about it and then make those changes. I mean, that's how this works.
Well, that brings up some questions there, Izzy. I mean, a lot of people, they go and look at these people who've been doing this for a long time and they see all this crazy sound equipment and lighting and cameras and all that. As for someone who wants to get started in it and begin just making their first video or some content, what suggestions would you have for those guys or gals who just want to try their dad and dabble in it?
People now are so much luckier than we were 7 years ago. This phone right here, this is the new, not the latest version. I think it's the last version of the Android Galaxy SG20 or whatever, SG10, whatever it is. Has a better camera in it than most cameras, like a DSLR. If you went out and paid $500 for a DSLR, the camera in your cell phone's probably better for a beginner. It just is. And the microphones are getting better too. And if you want a better mic quality, you can buy a little tiny Rode mic and put it on there and get much better sound quality. My first 100 videos were done on a Galaxy Note 2. My first 100 videos. And the first 25 of those, 30 of those were literally me pushing play, pause, play, pause, play, pause on my phone and then just uploading them directly from the phone. You look at some of these guys that are huge on YouTube. Like, I love Bobby Duke. And I'm going to pick on him for a minute. Half, if not more than what he does is recorded on his cell phone or his wife's cell phone.
That would explain a lot of the running.
Yeah, well, the foot shuffle, the running, the driving down the road, the dancing in the road, dancing in the grocery stores, dancing,
driving and talking. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And if you're close to your camera, the camera mic will pick up the voice just fine, the audio just fine. So, you don't even have to get fancy that way. So don't let that be. Do not get caught up. Do not get caught up in the technology side of it. It can ruin you. If you want to get caught up in something, get caught up in the content. I've had a guy from Google, one of the higher ups, literally say right to my face, when I asked him what the secret of being successful on the internet is, he says, it's all about the content, period. If you have good content, you can be forgiven for sound that isn't quite perfect, or video that's not quite perfect, or thumbnails that aren't quite perfect. It's all about the content. So that's it. And if you say to me, well, I can only do what other people have done, so what? You're going to do it in a different way than that anybody else has, because you're doing it. So it's not going to be done the same as somebody else, because it's your perspective that you're sharing. And that perspective is going to be the perspective that connects with somebody that may not have connected with me, or someone that may not have connected with Mike. So do it.
Yeah. So we did have a question, and thank you for that. What's the best way to start talking to a company about brand deals?
It depends on the company. They're going to have different access points. With you guys, it was just calling the company and asking who to talk to. Call the front door. With some of the larger companies, it can be a little bit more difficult. So you have to get on LinkedIn, start looking around who handles the marketing, who handles their social media stuff. And typically the social media stuff and the marketing guys are different people. But you can get you get access because they're on the same team. You can get access to the people who would decide that through their social media. So reaching out on their Instagram is a great way. Some companies are so big, they get so many responses that they never get back to you. In that case, then back to looking on LinkedIn, looking at who is involved with that company, and typically looking at the marketing aspect, who's involved with that company, who's marketing. And here's the one thing that I see a lot of people doing that is really a fail. Do not be afraid to pick up the phone. Sometimes it's just a phone call. And 80% of the times, 90% of the times, it's just a phone call. And when people hear your voice and they can add that to what they see online, and they're going to connect with you a lot quicker than if it's just all done through email. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone. Don't be afraid to hear no. If you're getting 2 out of the 10 people you talk to say yes, you're doing good. Mm-hmm. So, just expect that, and you will run into some Gen Zers like me who are still old school marketers who think if they spend 10% on print, they'll make 10 times their return. They're still out there. And you'll get nowhere with them, and they'll be condescending and jerks, and just walk away. No brand is worth that. So that's how. Who's really good at that is Jess Crow. She's an expert at reaching out to people. She does really good with that. So ask her. Go follow her on Instagram and send her a message. So tell her Izzy sent you. She'll be mad at me, but go ahead and do it anyway.
I'm sure she'll be devastated.
Right.
But as far as on a business side of things, with myself handling social media, some of the marketing of that, I can say that if you buy a product from a company, you start sharing your use of that product, that will get some attention no matter who the company is, because now you're sharing, you're posting your experiences with that product. And then when you go to talk to them, it's a little bit easier because the wheels are already greased than just saying, hey, give me some free sandpaper. It's like, okay, I can give you some free sandpaper, but what are you going to do with that content? Nothing. You're just going to get free sandpaper. You got to also watch that when you go to approach companies, because they're not going to like that. There's nothing for the company in the content. Like we had mentioned in the beginning of this, that it has to be a relationship, and it can be a very basic relationship. It doesn't have to be a complete overall relationship. Sometimes the free sandpaper, never tried it before. Here we are. We're going to try this. This is great. I really like it. That's all you need. It's simple.
Yeah, typically when I'm approaching a brand by a cold call, I'm just like, hey, my name is Izzy Swan. I've had some success in the social media world, and I'd like to talk to you about what I can do for you if you got some time. That's my pitch. You don't go in there hard. Don't go in saying, I've got 20 million followers on 7 different pages and blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Because these guys get pitched all the time from all kinds of different places in all kinds of genres, not just social media, but everywhere. And anybody with any experience has heard it all. And you want to turn somebody off, go in like you're a heavy hitter. That'll turn them off so fast it's not even funny. Go in there humble. And then when they're, say, I've had some success, don't say I have a ton of followers. Say I have some success in the social media world and I'd like to talk about what I can do for you. There's the key word.
There's the key word. And it doesn't hurt if there's a dinosaur involved.
Yes.
Just saying.
Well, dinosaurs are cool.
Especially ones ran off of a drill.
So Coleman wanted to know, when do you sleep? And Gary had answered him, he doesn't sleep. That's a problem.
I sleep.
That a problem.
I sleep every day for at least 4 hours, sometimes 6.
All right. The key word there was day. He doesn't sleep at night.
I take a nap every day between 2:30 and 3 for about an hour and a half.
So make sure you set your reminder to call Izzy at that time.
I've learned to shut off my phone.
I was going to ask, is that cumulative or is that like total hours per day?
Total hours per day.
Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't think it was all at one time. So.
But yeah, we got Stuart here. Great tips. Thank you for sharing your experience.
Thank you, Stuart. Appreciate it, man.
I don't know if you saw Jess's Bunny Boy. But
yeah, she's taken to calling me Bunny Boy for some reason.
It fits.
If Bunny Boy fits, oh man, big Bigfoot boy.
Oh, and if anyone knows anything about marketing, Gary Jones is a great person to ask some questions to.
Yeah, Gary's been in the marketing game forever. Boy, he's done some high profile stuff too, zip drives and a bunch of other stuff. And Gary and I have gone on, we've had a lot of conversations about marketing and how things work, and talk about a
wealth of knowledge.
Knowledge. I mean, just absolutely insane, his experience and what I love about Gary is his demeanor. You know, it's not intense. And you would think a high profile marketing person would be like major intense, you know. He's not. It's just totally laid back. If Gary walks into your shop, hide your brooms, because he will most likely grab it and start sweeping your floors. That's just Gary. And Gary says, if you want to be welcome in someone's shop, anyone's shop ever, walk in there, pick up a broom and start sweeping.
No one's going to say no to that.
It's the crappiest job in the shop. Mm-hmm. People don't want to do it. And when someone does that for you and just walks in and starts doing that, they're like, I like that guy. They will love you. I promise.
That, and it doesn't hurt that Gary always wants to be actively doing something. He really can't.
Yeah, he can't sit still.
No.
Yeah. He's actually, it's kind of funny because I will sit still for moments. Like I'll sit down for 10 minutes. When I'm sitting down, I'm not working. I'm thinking about process. I'm thinking about the next steps. And then I get up and do them. And I do them relatively fast. And it's kind of funny to watch the dynamic between Gary and I. Mm-hmm. So
he's blushing at the moment.
He is not.
Jess had some great advice right there. Mm-hmm. Because this is your gig now, my best advice is to buy items, use the death out of the product, and tag and share their products. Don't expect to be paid and get free product unless you're Mr. Beast, which would be Bunny Boy. Date first, then work hard, and make them want to pop the question to you. It will be worth it. And that is the truth. I mean, you can't tell someone you are going to get them all these followers. You can't tell someone you're going to get them all these views unless you just simply already have the content available or the drive.
No, and you talk to Coleman, and when I worked with you guys a couple of years ago, you agreed to quit my shop with I'm not going to say the number amount, but with
$10 million worth of tools.
Not even close. And I agreed to put some video content out there and tag and share, and and we agreed to do that, but you guys let me pick the equipment pretty much, except for the drill press, which you talked me into. I'm very glad you did, by the way. Thank you for that.
Because he was like, I just need a simple bench top. I'm like, no. This is going to work much better.
I will never, ever own another drill press. That is the drill press I will own.
That thing's
forever.
Awesome.
Yeah. And what we're talking about, the Voyager, the DVR Voyager.
Yeah, from Nova. It's a one-stop shop for a drill press. Never need another one again.
Sponsored by Klingspor's Woodworking Shop.
Now on sale, 10% off.
Right. But when I came to you and talked to Coleman, the first thing I said is, I can't promise you what I'm going to get you in return.
Yeah.
It's one of the very first things I said, because you don't know. And when you're working on the level that we were looking on across, several different platforms, and there's, even with bit links and other things, there's just absolutely no way to quantify the effect it had. There's just no way. It's not possible. Mm-mm. So I like to say that I put them on the map, because, but that's not true.
Yeah, we already had 4 locations in North Carolina, so we were on a map.
Well, Hickory, North Carolina is barely on a map, so I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a main interstate intersection. We're okay.
Back in 07, we were the furniture
there is
capital
a gas station and a post office.
2 post offices.
Right. So, but no, so there's really no way to qualify that. You can show them your numbers. and say, you know, here you go, and they can make what they want of that. But honestly, don't promise the moon. You know, you can't in this market, in this climate, in this crazy world. You can't make promises. What you can do is say, hey, I will put out this many videos with your product until it reaches this number. And I've done that before. But I usually only do it when I know the numbers will hit on one video. I don't ever, you know, and I just, at a certain point, you know, that this video is going to get 100,000 views, or this video is not going to get very many, or this video has potential for many more views than that. So.
Yep. So we got, let's see.
Hey, there you go. Thank you for that. BWB Creations. Izzy was the reason I started using Klingspor. See, it worked. It was worth it all right there.
You put us on the map for that person. Absolutely. And we appreciate that. Well, don't worry. You get a business class, you know, flight. Mr.
Thanks,
Boots.
Chris. Thank you. That was a nice comment. So
then now they're just talking amongst themselves.
Right on. I love that, how that happens when you do these things, because they'll start conversations inside of this, and which is another example of how amazing this community is. And if you want to feel part of something that is amazing, get involved, start commenting, start posting. Don't just post a picture, start being interactive, and the results are tenfold. The benefit is tenfold. So where are we sit on time? I don't want to run us over.
46 minutes into it. So.
All right. So we have a few minutes left for questions. So if you have any, throw them at me. I'm happy to answer them to the best of my ability. Did we want to run that video?
We can. Absolutely. I got that.
All right. So I recently jumped on TikTok because Andy Klein told me I had to be there. And prior to that, DIY Emily was like, you really should be over there. And I was like, this is TikTok.
But I spelled it wrong too.
Yeah, I did actually. I think I spelled it talk the first time I typed it into the search engine. And because it's largely Generation Z, and I'm like, am I going to connect with these folks? What's, you know, but it's our generation. Generation Z. But it's not. And what I'm learning, and even though there's a lot of content over there, I wouldn't want my kids looking at. You know, there is a whole DIY sect over there. And once you start looking at that stuff, that's what they start showing you instead of girls dancing in bikinis.
So it starts to build an algorithm behind what you're
interested in, and it starts showing you that.
So it gets rid of all the trash.
It does. And then if you pause on if you're going through the follow me or follow you or what for you, and you pause on that and watch it, it'll think you're interested in that. So be careful what you pause and watch on. I trust me, I know.
So with that said, let's check out the teaser video.
So anyway, guys, this is the video I put up initially on TikTok, and this is the one that went viral. And this has got some of my funner builds over the past 6 years.
So it's a little compilation video.
Yep.
Very good. Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah, that's some of the more fun projects I put out over the past. Those are the ones that I think were the more fun projects to do. So it's been a fun journey. I definitely want to encourage you guys, if you're not already doing this, to get out there. You could change people's lives, literally. And you don't have to be, you don't have to be my size or Bobby Duke size or anybody in between size. You have to do it. And there's pillars in our community. There's people like, like here, like Jess Crow, like Gary, like, William Lutz. These guys are all guys and gals, are all very much pillars in our community in a lot of senses that they don't have huge channels. They're not anybody you might not know them unless you are involved in the community. People like Andy, he was on here the other day. He's not a super huge following, but this guy is legit. I mean, they do not come any more real than these kind of folks. And if you see what they do and you watch them closely, you will see how they inspire others around them. And then I would encourage you to emulate that, because more and more and more and more, this world needs positive energy, positive people out there, and you could be part of that. And I'd like to see you guys out there. It'd be fun.
Yep. That's the best way to put social media. It needs to be a positive influence for someone to inspire them to do something, inspire them to get up and try something new. If you fail, you fail. Hopefully you learn from it.
It's not a fail. It's a learning experience.
There you go.
So
don't look at it as a fail. Look at it as a learning experience.
I am here to learn. When you are doing something new, you are there to learn. And if it doesn't work the first time, you'll know why. Try it again. You'll just learn something. So I get that. Like both Mike and Joel give me a little trouble about that one. They're like, it's a mistake. I'm like, nah, it's just a learning experience.
I like the way to look at it, though. That's a good way to look at it.
Here's the thing. When you start, especially when you get into more high form stuff, when you're in woodworking, when you start getting into really precise joinery and all that jazz, it's super easy to get frustrated. And when you're frustrated, be thankful that you're frustrated, because you're learning. And that if you can put those two things together in your head and get some little Zen action going on, it becomes a lot more enjoyable of an experience, and you don't tend to throw things across the room like me. So.
Sponsored by Samsung's new S20 Galaxy.
Brad's making new one.
With its brand new wall protection case.
Brought to you by Otterbox.
Right?
No, not that, but yeah, I could just imagine. There's actually one chuck that we have here in the store that I will not sell somebody. They come in, it's at an awesome price point, but the problem is that it requires 2 bars to tighten, and if you have your project on there and you turn them the wrong way,
off it comes.
So that one hit the wall a long time ago, and I will never sell it to somebody. But that's about it for me.
Right on. Crazy stuff.
Yep.
Well, guys, thank you so much for having me on today. It looks like the audience is all questioned out. So if they don't have anything else for me, I'll say bye, y'all. So,
well, Izzy, I'm glad we were able to put you on the map today. So that means a lot.
I appreciate that. That was very generous of you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Glad you could come out, and I appreciate you coming out, not for the fact that there wasn't any power, so you had to drive up here.
Yeah.
But you were able to make it on this time. I know we had some scheduling conflicts last week, so thank you for making your way back out and being here with us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on again. I was a little bit upset that all happened. So
glad you're here, and Chris, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm glad I could be here.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right, so today it ends our woodworking extravaganza. So if you hadn't gotten your 15% off abrasives, now is a good time to do that at woodworkingshop.com.
Go do that now.
And then also don't forget 10% off on the Klingspor saw blades, but 15% off abrasives and router bits.
Yeah, go check out that hot deal section as well, because there's some stuff on there that you'll likely not see at that price again. So go check it out and take advantage of our mistake of putting it on there at that price.
Right on. And I will, I want to add 2 cents to that.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys have ever bought, and don't say you haven't, because I know you all have bought sandpaper at the big box store, their stuff is 10 times better, and it's better priced, period. It is much better priced. So go get their sandpaper. You'll be glad you did.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
Well, you guys,
not sponsored.
You guys won't toot your own horn, so we
don't toot our own horn.
No.
But if you ever run into an issue with sandpaper or the process in which you're doing and you need help or advice on it,
go watch that video you made.
There's a video that we made with Izzy over there on izzyswan.com, youtube.com/izzyswan. Everything you wanted to know about sandpaper, as well as if you go to woodworkingshop.com, you can contact Chris or I through our online chat feature.
Yeah, that video is titled, "Are You Sanding Wrong?" by the way, so you can search that as well.
It's got a couple of views, I think 2 or 3.
I think it has almost 300,000 now.
Craziness people would need to know. But thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you for being
Especially
here.
Everybody from the community. Look at this. You want to talk about amazing support, guys. This is awesome. Thank you so much, y'all.
Yeah, I don't know, except for that Lutz guy.
He cuddles good. It's okay.
He utilizes the situation. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we got something coming up at 1, Mike. Was that right?
Yes. So Ellen from Little Bear Furniture will be joining us with King Arthur Tools, showing us how she does power carving.
Nice.
So definitely join us back here at 1 p.m. or an hour from now, and we'll go ahead and show you that. And then that will be the final video of the virtual extravaganza. So Izzy, thank you for topping us off today with a little extra sweetness.
Thank you very much for having me.
And everyone have yourself a great, I guess, rest of the morning.
Bye.
Yeah.